over the course of the Acolyte coming out, there's been a lot of articles, a lot of people talking about the lore destruction that this show has actually done. Whether it be Ki-Adi-Mundi and his age, or the fact that he even knows that there's a Sith, or the fact that he doesn't know that there's a Sith, what's actually going on, the cover-up, the fact that they're not going to the council to give them the information, or any of these kinds of things. The fact that we're getting stuff like this is an absolute joke, and once again proves my point that Disney Star Wars isn't Star Wars. Now, I don't think that this is what they were actually going for when they mention the line that they're going to mention. But at the end of the day, the fact that this is even a conversation, the fact that this is even a thing, goes to show how much these people, and possibly even the people creating Star Wars, not possibly, definitely the people creating the current Star Wars, actually don't know about the lore, the continuity, the history of Star Wars, the history of certain elements of Star Wars, and the fact that they do just want to change it. So this from Screen Rant says, there is actually a history of Jedi creating derogatory terms for dark side users. So it's not too much of a leap to think Sith itself was a derogatory term used by the Jedi to describe their enemy. Khmer even hints at this. The Sith is a derogatory slur used by the Jedi. When we actually go to the article, Star Wars may have just massively retconned Sith history with one line. Well, guess what? The fact that you're even implying that this is a thing, and I don't know whether or not you're okay with it or not, any Star Wars fan that I know that would see something like this would think that there's something wrong with that. Because if you know the history of the Sith was a species. It evolved into what it is and what we actually see. So basically what they're trying to say is that Khmer's line saying the Jedi would consider him a Sith, like refer to him as Sith, is like, well, we're not Sith, but you'd call us a Sith because it's some kind of slur or something. No, this is, again, them just changing Star Wars for the sake of, I don't know what, making it their own. And as a Star Wars fan, and as any Star Wars fan should be, I'm pissed off and offended by the fact that they're even considering that this is a thing. Oh, but that Sith stuff was all established in the expanded universe. It's no longer canon. We can change it to make it something that it's not. Oh, Dave, isn't that rude? Isn't that rude to take something from the EU and make it something that it's not? In fact, I'm going to play that clip.
That exists. And I've always leaned towards if we're going to create something, we should check and see if it existed already to the fans, because it has way more value if we bring that in. And It's like, why would I just replace it with something new? So if we're going to do an admiral, if we're going to do a big military leader, yeah, I could create a new guy, sure. But what about Thrawn? Thrawn is great. Thrawn is a character we all know. Thrawn has a lot of credibility. So then you ask yourself, is it right to use him? And can we use him in a way that's similar to the books? Or are we using him and it's going to go completely into left field? And there have been times when we wanted to use things from the EU, and I was like, yeah, but we can't use it that way. So why? I don't want to use it and change it. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want to use it and make it something completely different. That's rude.
Oh, that's rude, Dave. That's rude to take something that's, established and completely change it. Everything that Disney's done when it comes to taking something from the EU, making it something that it's not, in the eyes of Dave Filoni, that's rude. I wonder if he took those sentiments when he brought Thrawn into the Ahsoka series. But that runs straight in line with this as well. The fact that the Sith was a derogatory term. Like, this is real world bullshit. That's what it is. It's real world politics and real world bullshit that they're actually trying to bring in and make it something that it's not. Before you come out, Screen Rant, and you make an article like this, and I know that you talk about it further down here, right? But what you do when you do talk about it further down here is that you try and justify it. You try and say, look, see, the Sith back in the EU, back in the past, might have claimed the slur for their own identity. Why are we even using these words? Is it because these are the real words that we use in real world time period right now? I know Screen Rant is garbage. And I know most of these outlets are actually garbage. Like I said, I did a video not too long ago, 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, or something like that, where I talked about how these publishers come out and they say one thing, and then a couple of days later, it's like they've flipped on that, but that article's still out, but then they'll flip on that. In what? Defense of Disney's corporate bullshit? Anyway, the fact that they are using the Sith name, the possibility of it even coming in as being a slur. So what's like, okay, so if, let's say, the word is a slur on gay people, then what are Sith if that's the derogatory term for them? Oh, they're just a dark Jedi. No, dark Jedi are different to Sith. Established that they are different to Sith. So what is it? I can't stand stuff like this because it's like I said, Disney Star Wars isn't Star Wars. The more that they change, the less Star Wars it actually becomes. And again, if you're one of those people sitting out there saying, well, that story was established in the EU, that's not canon anymore, so that's not Star Wars, and what they're doing and the way that they want to spin it is Star Wars, it's the same thing that they did with the Rule of Two, right? The Rule of Two was a master to embody the power, a Sith to crave it. Sorry, an apprentice to save it. An apprentice to crave it. The apprentice wouldn't recruit an apprentice of their own to then for those two to power up against this master. That's not how the Rule of Two works. The Rule of Two was designed that the Sith would get more and more and more and more and more powerful. It's very explicitly explained in the Bane novel that, you know, what used to happen was, you know, a Sith apprentice or something would get a whole heap of his Sith buddies and all of them would take out the master, but then that would weaken the order because you'd have weaker people that have taken out a stronger adversary. But they changed the Rule of Two because now it's two Sith to rule them all, which is almost going back to what the Brotherhood was sort of doing. The Brotherhood of Darkness, in a sense, they considered everyone to be equal. Well, they considered everyone to be equal. I think in their own individual minds, they thought that they were more powerful or, you know, they are Sith still at the end of the day, or at least they were an order of Sith, you could say. Anyway, I'm just sick of articles like this where, you know, they even mention in their title that this is a massive retcon to Sith history. What makes it okay to do that in your eyes?